Bitcoin is immune from attack.
Welcome to the Crypto Show's Digital Cash Evolution right here on the Bloomberg Network. And today I'm in, Jesus Christ, Oslo, Norway at the Crypto Finance Conference. And we're speaking with Richard Hart, who is one of the speakers here. And he is a reformed Bitcoin maximalist, or what would you call it? A former? Improved Bitcoin maximalist.
Renewed? Enlightened? Yeah. Anybody who's willing to question their own beliefs, I believe, has a level of enlightenment. And I gotta say, I said it before when we had technical issues and lost the recording, but I'll say it again. I've respected your ability to question yourself and renew, your opinions on things. You were a Bitcoin maximalist, and for those who may not be aware, Bitcoin maximalism is basically saying the one true Bitcoin, the Highlander coin, as Danny likes to say. There can be only one. But before we get into your evolution, I want to get your opinion on the Bitcoin Cash fork and what's going on with that. You had some words to say about Craig Wright, maybe a little bit about Roger Ver. Can you give your opinion on what's going on there and that situation?
Yeah. So people always want more power and more control, nearly always. And Roger had been a proponent of Bitcoin for a long time and wanted it to be peer-to-peer digital cash. And the world decided that it didn't want to use Bitcoin as peer-to-peer digital cash. The world decided that the blocks filled up too easily. And it's very, very hard to use crypto for payments. People need to pay their rent in dollars. People need to sell their crypto for dollars. They have to pay the bid-ask spread and fees to do that. They have to wait hours for their confirmations to occur in order to even sell their coins. So, if you're a business and you want to pay in crypto, you have to turn your fiat into crypto, pay the bid-ask spread, pay the fees, look up the exchange rate, hope that there's not a fork, hope that there's not an update that you need to do, hope that the transfer works right, send the crypto to your employees. If it gets there, they have to wait some number of confirmations until they can put it on an exchange and trade it, where they can pay the bid-ask fee again and pay fees again, and then finally send the money to their bank account, where when they sell it, the bank says, well, this looks like a suspicious transaction, so we're going to need to shut your account down. And if you want to be able to have access to your money again, we're going to need an audit from a certified public accountant that says that everything's okay. And then after you do all that, they still shut your account down anyway. Or instead of doing all that, you could just pay in fiat. So as long as the rest of the world is using fiat, all crypto will always be an absolutely horrible user experience. And that made it so that no one uses it for payments. I mean, there's less ATMs now, not more. There's less companies accepting Bitcoin, not more. To train your staff to accept something that no one ever uses puts you cash negative. You'll never make that money back, right? All that time you just put training that employee to use a payment system that no one cares about, just lost money, right? So the world figured out that crypto actually sucks for payments as it currently exists. And because of that, it transitioned into being a really good store of value. And it went from 1,000 to 20,000. And that's better than a store value, right? That's an appreciating asset. And even after a huge 75% drop, where we bottomed out at 51.88 just recently, from December 25th till now, we did about 75% drop. It's still up massive, right? So through the history of this technological innovation, it's early adopters making more and more and more money as more people actually store value in this stuff. So, Roger wasn't happy with the real world and how the real world worked, and he wanted to try and force his will upon everyone by having a malicious hard fork, which attacked the original chain and took mining power away from it and made it weaker. And then, now a year later, we see that his crap coin's worth 3 cents of a Bitcoin, right? It's worth 3% to 5% currently. And that's how it should be. No one uses it. No one wants to use it. It's less secure. It's centralized. It doesn't have the best developers working on it, but it's an altcoin that was given birth to through a contentious and ugly manner. You can just start an altcoin from scratch. You don't have to hurt someone else's coin to do it. That's what I'm doing.
It seems like it's become worse than what he was trying to replace, because there were a lot of egos involved in in Bitcoin in the developers, but so they're trying to solve this problem by creating something, and yet their egos are at the top, and they're the ones that they're screwing up the innovation, not helping it.
I mean, Bitcoin is real simple. Are you secure? What is secure? Secure means that you have enough hash rate that it's expensive for someone to attack you. His chain was just attacked. He's losing $500,000. The people that are mining Bitcoin ABC, which is the most recent fork of what you used to know as Bitcoin Cash ABC now, they're losing $500,000 a day mining that instead of mining Bitcoin to prevent some other egomaniac billionaire. You have two egomaniac billionaires. One's Rajan Ver, one's Calvin Ayre. Calvin Ayre is attacking their network, right, with another different fork called Bitcoin Cash ABC or SV. And
SV, right?
Money fighting over something that's not worth fighting over. It's a centralized crap coin that a giant centralized mining network can let you transact or not, roll your transactions back or not. Whichever one of them wins, they've both lost, and they're all garbage compared to Bitcoin, which has, 13 times more hash rate and
So
100 times more.
if I'm understanding your perspective correctly, you're basically saying in the three major properties of money that have been identified: store of value, medium of exchange, unit of account. Your current perspective of Bitcoin as quote unquote king is it's demonstrating itself to be a store of value. It's failed in the area of medium of exchange, and that's what you're saying is even the attempts of Bitcoin Cash to make it a medium of exchange is failing because it's just simply not being accepted. The real world example isn't working. Is that what you're saying?
Pretty much. I mean, Bitcoin's been around for 10 years. No one uses it for actual commerce. Some people used it on the darknet, but since it's totally traceable, you're better served by Monero or anonymity coins. So what if the only actual use case people are using it for in commerce is darknet, and darknet's better served by an anonymity coin? You gotta catch up with what the real world's doing. The real world decided that it's a commodity. It's traded on the CME Commodities Exchange. And commodity.
So I wouldn't be serving one of our sponsors, the Dash Network, if I didn't mention at least that maybe you're aware that there are at least 4,000 merchants accepting Dash, and there's worldwide a large portion of those, I think over 3,000 in Venezuela. Do you have an opinion on what's going on with Dash in that market?
I mean, so statistics are funny things, right? If you say 4,000, it sounds like a big number. But if you say 0.00001% of actual retailers that are total, it seems like a very small number, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to frame it and make it look big, 4,000 sounds big. You know how many users Clash of Clans, the video game, has every day? 100 million. Okay. Not as good as a video game, a factor of a million or something, some large number, right?
Sure.
And with Venezuela, the only thing that's actually driving that is necessity. I mean, people are using it because they don't, like, what's her name? Eugenia Alcala. She goes to the grocery store and needs 4 different credit cards to make one purchase because she can't purchase all of her items with one card. But, they're driven to go out and find merchants. You can go to KFC, McDonald's, and all these other places and use Dash or Bitcoin Cash, or many of the others.
If
they're actually accepting
Dash,
it. They are there.
Like,
I wouldn't eat McDonald's, but the Subway's take KFC. Everybody else.
Do you? Is it your opinion, Richard, that the payments industry will be overtaken by cryptocurrency, or do you see that happening, or what's your opinion there? Not at all.
No.
Just simply no.
If you buy crypto, what do you care? You care about your bag of crypto that you bought going to a really high price. I'm in it for the technology. No, you're not. Or you'd learn to code and build stuff. You're in it for the money. Okay? You bought your bag of stuff and you want your bag to pump. So here's the problem with thinking crypto is going to take over the world. Amazon and Facebook like to build their own software. They build their own chat clients. They could have used someone else's. They build their own server stacks at the hardware level where they specify the dimensions and DC and AC routing inside the boards, and they just probably would build their own or fork their own and not pump your bags. So if crypto does take over payments in the actual enterprise space, your bags aren't getting pumped. Their bags are. There'll be an Amazon coin, which already is actually, There is already actually an Amazon coin that they use for discounts. They could make that, if they weren't worried about money transmission laws and AML KYC stuff, they could easily rotate that into a full crypto, So sure, if for some magical reason crypto does take over all payments, it doesn't mean your bag's going to pump broke.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. So, so it sounds like you're really going this angle of the store of value, and you mentioned before we got onto the interview that you're actually launching a coin, a fork of Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin Hex.
Yep.
Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So if it's true that the only adoption cryptocurrencies have in their 10 years of existence is as store of value, which is obvious. Look at the price and then look how many people are actually using it. Price is very high, use is very low. So they store value and they appreciate, and that's awesome. So what can you do to make a token that appreciates faster and better than the ones that already exist? There's a lot of things you can do. So in Bitcoin, new coins get given to miners to burn electricity to maintain the network. A necessary evil of a blockchain at this point. So what if instead you just piggyback a network that's already eating all that waste, like Ethereum, right? And you just implement all the game theory that made Bitcoin work, but better. So Bitcoin needed to distribute its coins to kickstart, to prime the pump. And it said, all right, well, if you mine on your personal computer, we'll give you coins. And that got people interested in it, like freemium, right? You can screw around with it and get involved and get in your mind space. So instead of paying miners to mine, this token gives its new tokens to people that just hold, that lock their coins. So if you have a Bitcoin right now and you want to make interest on it, you've got to lose control of it and give control of it to another centralized party like an exchange that will loan it out to other people and hopefully not get hacked and hopefully return your coins to you, hopefully with interest. That's a lot of trust, and that's the opposite of what crypto was designed for. Crypto was designed to get rid of trusted parties and get rid of middlemen that don't really need to be there. So if you have a smart contract that invented the token, that same smart contract pays the interest. So if you lock your coins, you get paid interest on them, right? So if only 10% of people lock, you get 37% interest every year. That's it. Do you like 37% interest a year? It's good, right?
How does that work from a technical perspective? Does proof of work mining still exist?
Right.
Will there be a change in the number of coins as compared to Bitcoin? If I have Bitcoin, do I automatically get some on this Bitcoin Hex fork? What does that look like?
You have to. So if you have Bitcoin in a regular Bitcoin address, then you can sign statements from it in your wallet. You can prove that you had the private key from your Bitcoin and sign a statement to say anything you want. If the statement you sign has your Bitcoin Hex address in it, then you can claim your Bitcoin Hex. If you claim it the first week, you get 10% more. If someone referred you, they get 5%. If you don't claim it the first week, you lose 2% of your stack every week. So if you wait 25 weeks and you go, oh, look, this looks pretty cool, half your stack's missing because it was given to other people that did claim, right? If in order to get those rewards, you have to lock your coins. So this is the 50-week launch phase. It's about a year. If you lock your coins, you get interest. You become a member of the pool that receives the interest payments. And the currency inflates 3.69% every year, which is less than Bitcoin, which is at 4.17%.
Okay.
So if less people stake, then there's more coins on the open market, but those fewer people that have staked get the entire pool to themselves. So if you were the only guy to stake, right, and you only stake like a penny, you would get about 4% of the entire currency to yourself, which is like thousands and thousands of percent return. But it's unlikely anyone would let you be so lucky. Other people are going to lock their coins because they want all those other incentives and bonuses and interest, right? So then they join the pool, which reduces your payout because now you're sharing the same pool, right? The same 4% interest pool, 3.69. And it kind of auto balances out because if more people lock their coins, you get less interest, but the coins are worth more because they've been taken off the market. You can't sell them, right? So instead of paying miners to burn electricity, we pay holders to hold trustless interest. The only thing that these things do is store value. So why don't we store value better? If you have programmable money, what's the first thing you should program? Interest. So I invented it. If you stake for longer, you get paid more shares. Every extra year you stake longer, you don't have to do the whole year. You can do just portions, right? 10-day period. Okay. You get paid 20% more. So if you stake for 5 years instead of 10 days, you're earning 3 times the interest, right? that's great. Like you want to make 3 times the money. Now here's the trick. You better be real accurate about how long you wanted to stake for, because there's a penalty if you unstake early. There's a half penalty. So if you staked for 5 years and you took more shares for yourself and made everyone else get paid less because you committed for longer, but then you didn't actually do what you said you would, you pay half of that penalty into the pool of people that were honest and stayed staked. And they would be happy to see that happen, right? Because you just paid all the people that stayed staked while you pussied out and closed your stake, right? I love the game theory. I absolutely love it. And there's a lot more in it.
No, I'm a big fan myself, and I was just talking with Robert Biglione of Horizon Coin a minute ago, and he's got some very interesting ideas on game theory. And I love to see how all these experiments play out. I didn't hear an answer though on the proof of work. Is that still in existence?
ERC20 token that lives on top of Ethereum. As long as people are using the Ethereum network, and it is trustworthy and trustless, and it has the largest hash rate after Bitcoin, and there's no 51% of tax. As long as it has all those properties, we don't need much transaction throughput at all. If your only interactions with the token are to buy and sell it once in a while, or to store value in it and stake it for 5 years or 2 years or 1 year, whatever you want to do, you're only going to interact with the contract once to open your stake, once to close your stake years later. We don't need high transaction throughput. We just need trustlessness. And there's a lot of networks that provide that. And Ethereum is the one that has the best ecosystem, easiest to plug in with distributed applications, DEXs and exchanges and whatnot. And they've learned a lot of lessons with all the money that's been lost developing in it. So every time somebody's lost $15, $20 million trying to build an app on Ethereum, the mistake has been logged and the learnings have been learned. And so now you don't have to be on the bleeding edge losing your client's money on some untested system. The system's the most tested.
Okay, so it's an ERC20 token that kind of references the BTC network. Is that an accurate kind of statement? No?
It's a fork of the Bitcoin UTXO set, which means that if you have Bitcoin, you can claim Bitcoin Hex. But as soon as that 50-week period is over, no more claiming, which means that...
when does the 50-week period begin?
Yeah, we want ours.
Right. So right now, the smart contract's done, and we're testing it. When you test software for the first time, bugs usually appear, and then you fix them. Once we fix the bugs that we found through time warping and testing, and I'm not going to give you all the technicals, but there's frameworks that you use to test your contract to see what's wrong with it. Once we've completed our own internal testing, we lock the contract, we hash it, and we submit it for audit. Then the auditors look through it, see if they found anything magical, which is expensive to have done. And if they find anything, which they almost always do, you fix it. Now you're set. You're secure. You've had the best eyes in the world look at it. You've run it through a bunch of tests yourselves. You've been playing around on the test net. Then you have your snapshot, which is where you got to have your Bitcoin in a wallet that you control the keys to. And once you're in the snapshot, you can dump your Bitcoin. You don't need it anymore. You'll have access to these Bitcoin Hex tokens, whatever you want them, during that 50-week.
Okay.
And I should tell you,
go on.
If you're a whale, we penalize you. Okay, so if you want to avoid the silly whale penalty, you got to split your wallet up into little wallets that are less than 1,000. If you try and claim 1,000 coins, you're going to get a 50% penalty. If you try and claim 10,000 coins, you're going to get a 75% penalty, and it scales up. Right? We don't need people coming in and dumping on us. If this project is successful, which I'm very, very confident that it will be, we don't want people to come in and people that had nothing to do with the success and dump on us later, like Bcash. Bcash, I wouldn't consider it successful, but it is worth some billions of dollars, so maybe that is a success. Satoshi could come and dump on them whenever he wants.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't help.
That's true.
Right? So it's not, oh, by the way, you know who else is dumping their Bcash? The Mt. Gox trustee. You know, Mt. Gox that screwed everyone? He's dumping Bcash. So if you have a fork and you're giving money to the Mt. Gox trustee, you must be stupid. I mean, there is no reason to incentivize that guy to dump on your users and the people that are actually trying to make it work. So I don't believe in freeloaders. I don't believe in whales just, dumping on the people that are actually making the thing work. So we got silly whale penalty. We've got, multi-sig addresses can't claim, which is just because of technology. Old SegWit addresses can't claim. New ones can, Back32 ones. Go on bitcoinhex.com. Read the FAQ. Read
BitcoinHex.com.
through the stuff.
For sure, check that out. You know, I have to say, so fair warning, whales, right? But also, I love how you evaded the date specific question.
Oh, I
and
don't
in
know.
my mind,
like it's we're testing it. And
exactly. I was going to say, as a software developer,
2 to 4 months, my guess.
yeah, it's better to go milestone route, right? Yeah, I mean, to say, look, we have to do this, and then we have to do this, and then we have to do this, and we don't know how long that's going to take. And you know, a lot of people, you can't. It's impossible to know. I call it discovered work. You're always discovering work as you're progressing in software development, which, in my mind, I have to say, lends credence to the likelihood of success. If you're saying, no, we know what we have to do, we just don't know how long it's going to take to do it all.
There is a trick you can use to estimate how many bugs you'll find. So the number of bugs you're likely to find is in proportion to the number of bugs you've already found. So if you've already found a lot of bugs, you're likely to find a lot more. There's just some tricks you can use to try and get okay time estimates, but it's still very unknowable.
Right. And if you do a number of projects, you can get some statistical data of, you know, how many hours you put in, and it's not necessary. You won't get a bug count out of that, but you can get, you know, based on some number of hours, there will be some percentage of those hours that's going to be additional work just, you know, found because you put that much in.
So I'd love to mention, you know, if everyone wants to make high ROI, part of the reason I stopped being a maximalist is because everyone I gave advice not to buy Ethereum really didn't appreciate the bad advice, because it pumped harder and faster than owning Bitcoin did, as did so many other tokens. So if your advice is disserving people, you know, you need to fix it. So I can still tell you that Bitcoin is the most secure network, and, you know, has been around the longest. And if you believe in,
you're saying whatever Tone Vase says is a scam, buy that and you'll get rich.
I'm not which things he's calling scams lately, but you know, if you're a speculator and you care about making money, then the technical merit of a lot of these projects is irrelevant, sadly. But in the real world, garbage pumps, and you know, if you don't include that caveat, you're doing financial disservice to the people that you're trying to help with good technical info. So just being technically right,
so that's
not enough.
So speaking of scams,
that's go on.
Yeah, speaking of scams, the real Satoshi revealed himself recently, and so you had some information proving that Craig Wright is Satoshi, right?
I wouldn't piss on Craig Wright if he was on fire. He's a terrible human being, and I don't say that about many people. It's a very short list.
Yeah, that's I have to say I'm still trying to develop an opinion. I don't know. You know, do you believe that you know that he is not Satoshi? I mean, is that your personal thing? Yeah, you're confident. Can you explain why you might believe that?
So Satoshi believed in open source software and not in patents, and in writing proper English, and in not cursing very much, and in spelling things in an English way with an SE instead of a ZE, and keeping hours in the UK based on time analysis of his bitcointalk.org addresses, and in not spending his coins to do stuff. That's all provable. That's the evidence that we have. And when you look at other people that talk a lot of crap and come out publicly and are not anonymous and spend a lot of money and don't support open source software and curse a lot and are belligerent and attack and don't believe in open source and call open source people soy boys and cucks, it's all the opposite. It's not even close. It's not even similar. It's literally the opposite. So if anyone in the world is not Satoshi, it's that guy.
Do you think it's possible that he's putting on an act? Do you think he's performing as an opposite kind of character as a public entity, so he doesn't have to pay taxes on his billions of worth of coin?
You only have to pay taxes on things that you sell. So if you have a capital asset and you don't sell it, you don't incur capital gain tax.
Right.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean,
so you don't think he has any incentive to perform as an anti-hero?
His own mother called him a pathological liar in a news article. So if your own mother doesn't have your back,
yeah, I suppose
it's not good.
Well, so what's your take on the information about Kleinman and how he's associated with it? I mean, you've got this whole court case claiming that, that Craig Wright and Kleinman were originally Satoshi?
So, first of all, if you're going to lie, at least try and do it artfully by not choosing the largest address and saying it's yours, particularly when that address is known to be owned and controlled by others and still transacting, right? And if you're going to choose a fall guy to say he did some cryptographic things, choose a guy that had something to do with cryptography. David Kleeman, who lived in, I believe, Deerfield Beach or Pompano Beach or somewhere near where I used to live in Florida, didn't have any crypto background at all. He did data recovery, which doesn't have anything to do with crypto. Data recovery is, changing out platters and heads on hard drives and, trying to put together FAT tables and NTFS tables, and it doesn't have anything to do with crypto whatsoever. So, choosing a guy that's dead who can't defend himself and then assigning a lot of properties to that guy is real convenient when you want to do some shady things, right? Oh, well, I would give you the coins, but dead guy had them. Oh, I would show you the receipts for this research we did, but dead guy had them. Oh, dead guy and me, man, we did a lot of really cool stuff together. We snorted coke with, Steve Armstrong. Like, no, you didn't. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, none, it's all made up garbage, and it takes 10x longer to disprove the garbage than to spout the garbage, which is why it's an asymmetrical war, right? He can say as many stupid, retarded claims as he likes, and it takes me too long to show the absurdity of all of them.
And so, is it? Are you of the opinion, like, there are people in this world who are avid fans and believers of Craig Wright, and do you just don't give them the time of day? Do you just write them off entirely?
Craig Wright is useful. You are retarded. Craig Wright does not know how to do math. Okay, Craig Wright tried to say that selfish mining was a problem. Other papers had already decided that it was not. In his analysis, he did this thing, calculating what was called the gamma, which is the difference between like one thing and another thing, right? So like how many people are supposed to be honest and how many people aren't being honest. And then he, for his math, said, oh, well, the difference is negative. You can't have a negative difference, right? It's not a thing. You can't have negative gamma. And he's made tons of other mathematical errors in other papers, some of which I've saved and collected before he deleted them, because he's trying to pad his academic reputation. He collects degrees from an unknown university in the middle of nowhere that no one cares about, and he writes a bunch of papers that are gibberish. It's just so that he can say that he has these degrees and he has his papers. He needed that back before he was popular, but now people have been so stupid as to make him more popular that he doesn't even need to reference his old crap credentials, right? So it's very simple. If you want to think you're Satoshi invented a system that doesn't use trust, it uses signatures. Sign the Genesis block or fuck off. It's that simple.
Right.
This whole system.
Yeah, that's kind of been my opinion too. I would like to see that happen without drama, basically.
Right. Like, there's nothing exciting. Everyone signs things every day to send transactions. Just send me $1 from an old wallet and I'll shut up. Until you give me $1 from an old wallet, you're lying.
So if people want to learn more about this kind of perspective, is the website that you mentioned when we were off air previously, satoshizvision.com, that you happen to own? Is that kind of get into that?
No, it just points to Bitcoin Hex, but I love that they're making the name of a domain name that I own. I mean, I could put anything on there, right? Like, I'm sure they'd buy it for me if I cared about their pitiful money, but I don't.
And so do you have an opinion on this idea of Satoshi's vision? I mean, it seems like everybody thinks they own Satoshi's vision. I mean,
it's just like Christianity, right? How many versions of Christianity are there? Tons and tons and tons and tons. Why? Because the book wasn't that specific. You could interpret it a lot of different ways. And so people get into arguments so strong that they just have to go their own way. And so anytime you can't reference the source of a thing to get clarification, you will continue to get divisions. Satoshi's vision was the code that he wrote, right? The 1 minute block size that he put into the code, right? And explained why he did it. Not supporting multiple implementations. Those are his words, and explains why he doesn't support multiple implementations. The language of something to the effect of, most people don't like their code being forked, but I particularly don't like it because we have to have everything be perfectly in sync all the time, or consensus falls apart and you can't transact anymore, right? If one node says you've got money and the other node says you don't, well, guess what? You can't transact. You can't trust that you have money or not. You can't sell the guy the stuff that you sold him because you don't know whether you've been paid or not, or whether that payment will stay paid for long, right?
So as you're talking, that makes me think of, I mean, consensus is a big piece of it, but also, I mean, governance comes to mind. And it seems like in the world of Bitcoin, without some kind of voting mechanism, forking is how you execute governance. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, that is accurate. That, yes, that's how it's supposed to work. But what we found is that Andreas Antonopoulos has a good position on this, in that we've got multiple parties with different interests. We've got miners who want to make more coin and more money. We've got nodes that want to make sure everyone plays by the rules that they like and approve. And, a lot of nodes don't mine. Most nodes don't mine. And then we've got users that want to be able to transact with low fees and not have people dumping their heads. And, preferably they'd like to see the currency appreciate. And, these three parties, and then you also have businesses, which is a fourth interest. So those are basically the four primary stakeholders. Now, in Bitcoin, we had a war to get SegWit put on. And, fake agreements had to be made that weren't lived up to. So a fake agreement was made that said, okay, we're going to give you bigger blocks as long as you give us SegWit. And you give us SegWit first. And then they gave the SegWit. And then everyone was like, all right, we're not doing the bigger block thing. Lol. Sorry. Just not doing it.
Well,
it didn't happen.
Doesn't Blockstream hold a lot of responsibility for that? Or what's your thought there?
No. Blockstream writes software. You double click the exe on your computer and run it or not. They don't control whether you double click or not. You choose what software you run, right? If you want to pay developers to build better Bitcoin, please do. Go ahead. But because Reid Hoffman and some other guys decided to fund what's basically an R&D and free software writing firm that I wouldn't fund, you think they've made money or lost money? They've lost money. Why is everyone complaining so much about a company that builds open source software, really good open source software, for free, and loses money every year doing it? Oh, conspiracy to lose money to make this good free software that I can run or not. It's retarded. Please, anyone else that wants to lose money building free software that people love, please go ahead. I won't do it. I mean,
so then is it also your opinion that non-mining nodes add nothing to the network?
Well, they add faster download times for people that are local to the node, right? And they enforce rules and kind of say, hey, I've detected bullshit. And it's harder to civil attack the network because you've got more people enforcing the good rules. So
what about all these different interpretations of what size the block should be?
They're just, so security is a sliding scale. If you have larger blocks, you'll have higher throughput and less security because you'll have less nodes that can participate because it increases their load. And you'll just have nodes drop out. As the blocks get larger, nodes just die and drop off because they can't take it.
Right.
So if you want higher throughput, make bigger blocks. And then you'll start to get new, different, weird types of failure. Because latency exists.
I mean, you don't need that many nodes. I mean, look at SV. He didn't have that many nodes, and Bitcoin Cash beat him out even though he had more hash power.
Yeah, but it's still it's the Special Olympics. You win and you're still retarded. It's not worth your minority hash rate chain that uses. No one cares. Great. I'm glad that you're a centralized chain that can roll back transactions when you want, fork when you want, stop people from transacting when you want. That's all the opposite of what we built Bitcoin for. You're a great example of the suck. I'm so glad Bitcoin like that.
So speaking philosophically, then you're basically saying that the whole Bitcoin Cash drama is a non-starter. It's just not real. It's not the real game.
It's just another altcoin with low security and low adoption, and a price chart that looks like crap. That was high and gone vastly lower, far in excess of whatever Bitcoin has gone down. So the price developers suck, the adoption suck, the animosity sucks. They only speak about how evil something else is instead of how good what they use is. I would say most altcoins would be better places to put your money.
Interesting. So circling back to Bitcoin Hex, how do you? What's the end game for Bitcoin Hex? Is it just rewarding hodlers long term? Say again.
Top 3 crypto.
Yeah.
So if it's the case that the only thing cryptography and cryptocurrencies does well is hold value, and none of them are paying interest, and everyone's relying on centralized fail parties to provide interest, like exchanges that are getting screwed up and hacked all the time or regulated against all the time, being the first cryptocurrency to pay interest to holders is amazing. I mean, that's what you should do with programmable money is program interest first. And it's just a copy of what we do in the real world. Bank accounts and CDs in the real world pay you an interest that is higher the longer you stake, period.
Mm-hmm.
No one's doing that, and I'm the first to do it, and I'm very happy to do so.
Aren't the other altcoins that have staking mechanisms already doing this?
Kind of. They're different. You can unstake whenever you want. So if you have a masternode coin, you have a lot of coins, and you have your masternode just sitting around giving you your dividend, you can turn that off whenever you want.
I go over there and brush the dust off of it in the corner every once in a while.
Right. Yeah. So because you can turn it off whenever you want, you're not actually committed to hold. In a CD from a bank, you have a penalty. So in Bitcoin Hex, if you stake with minimum periods 10 days, maximum periods about 10 years, could be 50 years, depends on we have to model how much processing power it takes to wind through your stake when it's finished to make sure we don't run out of processing power in a block. We have to see how many rows of an array we can loop through, which will set our maximum stake length, which we have 50-year mortgages, so I'd like it to be 50 years. It may end up 10 years due to technology.
A lot of these coins are pretty agile. They can, if they see your model is good, they can just implement the same things.
Yep, it is true. What I have done is open source. The code is open source. You can read it. You can copy the ideas. You can do it on another chain. However, there is a portion of our thing that is not open source, which will slow down copycats. So the smart contract that mints the tokens based on your signature that you had Bitcoin, that is open source. You can read that and verify it. But the signature generating code that takes your Bitcoin address and generates the signature and does all that fancy math, that's not open source. And it's actually really hard to build. So because that component is hard to build and it is not open source, it will slow down copycats. And if everyone wants to copy my idea and be like not the first mover with it, it seems to have worked out for Bitcoin, right? It seems to have worked out for Ethereum. It seems to have worked out for every large crypto. But if you're the first mover with a good idea, you just get to keep 90+% of the market share anyway. So I'm okay with it.
I'm gonna title this episode in some way that you're supporting Craig Wright just to get people to listen. Like Richard Hart.
Richard Hart comes out and
Richard Hart proves that Craig Wright is Satoshi, just to make people get them pissed off, just so they'll write dumbass comments. I don't
know if I can support that kind of clickbait.
Without why not? They're going to write shit without listening to it anyway.
Right, that's fair. Well, all right. So, Richard, is there anything else you wanted to get into while we have you on the show?
Yeah, I invented another thing which I think is cool.
Proof of social media?
Not that one. Although I got 50,000 Twitter followers. Follow me, Richard Hart Win. I tweet some funny stuff, man.
I follow you.
If you want to get a lot of free airdrop tokens that are given to Bitcoin holders, you can get a loan or just spend a lot of your money on buying the coins, getting them in your wallet, being in control of your keys when the snapshot occurs. And then canceling out that risk of being over allocated in your Bitcoin by opening up a short on BitMEX, which I have a 10% discount link on my Twitter profile, Richard Hartwin. You click it, you get 10% off.
Do you live in the U.S.? No, I'm kidding.
I don't.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think I tried to open an account on BitMEX, and they're blocked to U.S. users. Isn't that right?
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
The joke was Tonebase got his shut down because it was a U.S.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, boo. Okay, go on. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah. So if you get a lot of spot Bitcoin using cash or loan or whatever, take it into your wallet, control it during the snapshot, which is 10 minutes, right? 10 minutes, 20 minutes. Then you just unwind both the trades. You just sell your coins and close your short, and you have no fiat risk. So you can get, without any fiat risk at all, doesn't matter whether the Bitcoin price goes up or down, you get a lot of snapshot coins of any token. Bitcoin Hex would be one of them. And I think it's neat to be able to claim more free snapshot coins with no fiat risk. Your only risk is that, BitMEX instantly goes out of business in the minute that you, had your short open or whatever, which is pretty low risk, right? Your 10 or 20 minutes of risk is pretty low. Now, they only do withdrawals once a day because they use a real cold wallet. So depending on what time the snapshot occurred, you'd have maybe, maximum of 24 hours of risk.
Well, Yeah, that's a great idea. I would not recommend it for the unskilled or those who aren't familiar with crypto trading, but certainly it sounds like a solid plan, and it would work. Do you know of any other coins that are coming out in the near future that would take advantage of such a situation?
I actually don't. I have no idea if anyone's still airdropping to Bitcoin holders but me. It might not be a thing anymore. I'm not actually sure.
Let's fork all the things.
I forked dinner last night.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
Nice.
Wasn't much of it, but it was pretty damn good.
Well, Richard Hart, I want to thank you for coming on the show. How do you prefer people to get in touch with you if they want to learn more about what you're up to?
Richard Hart Win on Twitter, Richard Hart on YouTube, Bitcoin Hex, like HEX .com for the new token. And, it's a lot easier to make a token that you bought for 0 to go up infinite % return than it is to take something that used to be 6,000 and is now 5,500 and make that go up 100x. Just takes so much less energy to make a small thing get big than to make a big thing get bigger.
Sure.
That's
Yeah.
what my girlfriend.
And that's Hart. Nice. That's cute. HART, right? Richard Hartwin.
HART.
HART.
Heart in your
I just
chest.
want to make sure the audio.
HART,
Oh, okay.
like the heart in your chest.
Okay. Sorry. I don't want to throw people off.
He's a cyborg.
This is a pump.
Right on.
People that have mechanical hearts, that they just go one direction, it just makes a whirring sound. It's pretty interesting. They don't have pulses. It's just a constant flow.
Yeah. It creates a vortex or something. Just pumps the flow in that way. Well, thanks for coming on, Richard. Certainly appreciate your time. I hope to meet you at some point. Have a good time in Oslo. It's very late. It's 2 a.m. for me here in Hawaii. It's 3 in the afternoon for you guys?
I don't know.
It's 1 o'clock, 1 p.m.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Had
1
the
p.m.
time slightly.
It's good meeting you. It's good talking to you. I'm sorry to hear that
Yeah.
you had to talk to fake Satoshi. I hope you cleaned your ears after.
Yeah, we'll get it square. We want to get Rick Falkvig on soon. Do you know him well?
I don't know him. I just know that I'd crush him in a debate. So, Rick Falkvinge, if you're interested in getting crushed, I'm ready whenever you are. Roger, if you want a rematch, ready. Fake Satoshi. I don't know, man. Like he's just gonna hang up.
Fake Satoshi, and fake Jesus.
Yeah,
right. I think it would be epic to get the 4 of you on stage. Maybe we could put it together sometime. What's your preferred location?
Roger would win. Roger would win the
yeah.
I'd get second.
I think he's only like a purple belt.
They can roll, man. If you don't get him early, I think he's gonna choke you out.
That's true. Yeah, probably. I'm nowhere near that. I'm just a swimmer.
It's good meeting you. Good talking to you, man.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, you too.